going on, guys? It's K-Dub here with another episode of Crypto Zombie. Welcome back to the channel. Hope you're having an alright day today. I know yesterday was an insane day for Bitcoin. In fact, what a crazy week that we've had, basically coming all the way down here to the, mid $18,000 level, all the way up to 22,800, just to basically find ourselves exactly back where we were again, consolidating on the previous week. Now, why did this happen? Well, stocks also had one of the worst days in the past 2 years, and this is because the CPI report came out, and obviously it appears as if inflation is not rolling over as fast as we had hoped. So because of that, now the markets are potentially pricing in a 100 basis point raise from the FOMC meeting next week. So we'll have to see if that does play out. But we need to talk about even more things flashing. In fact, this is insane what just happened today. I have two things I want to go over today that have been these legacy signals. So now we have 7, 8, 9, 10 of them right now, all saying that the bottom is in. However, there's on-chain data, specifically from Willy Woo, that says we need more pain. The bottom is not in. We need to go much lower. In fact, his level is down around $9,000 for the full capitulation washout to happen if it was to play like previous times. So lots of contradicting things happening right now. We have all these indicators saying the bottom is in. We have the Fed raising rates and inflation running rampant. They're trying to, tame it. And then we have this on-chain data that's coming out that's saying that we need to go down to $9,000. On top of that, we also have the Ethereum Merge coming up in less than 15, 14 hours from now at the time I'm making this video. So we are going into very, very critical times now for Bitcoin, cryptocurrency, Ethereum, right? All of it as a whole. But I want to talk about why this could be the ultimate test. Not just for Bitcoin, but for crypto as well. And like I said, there is an indicator that I want to go over today that has virtually never failed. And if it does, well, then that could be the official nail in the coffin for whether or not we can even trust any of these past performance indicators ever again. Of course, we're going to go over the short-term price action. If you do want to trade this, I'll let you guys know. We've been absolutely nailing it. Yesterday, we did find a little bit of support. We did fall below it, but I'll let you guys know what I think about that and why it's happening. So if that sounds good to you, you know what to do. If you're not subscribed, definitely consider it. And for the 5 people out there that are still in crypto, pat yourself on the back. Congratulations, because it seems like everyone else has left the building. We remain standing, and legends, heroes are made in bear markets, but they won't tell you that, right? So let's dive in. Let's have a look at what's going on. So crazy price action yesterday. Now, originally I had said that I did think the markets were going to stop at around this level right here, 20,740. You can see that we did have that resistance back here, right? So I thought that would be the level. It was a very important level, a little bit farther back as well. But nevertheless, we stalled on it for, an hour or two. Then we fell through it. Now, why did that happen? Well, ultimately, you could see right here what we really did was, also just to mention the fact that, stocks also fell again in the second half of the day. So that's probably why it dragged Bitcoin down. But really, what we're doing is finding a bounce again off that previous top, right? So you can see this blue zone right here inside of this falling wedge, and you could see we actually literally perfectly tapped that exactly down to the level. And the reason for that is if we actually drag this all the way out, you'll notice that that is again the previous high, right? So basically the markets were just once again testing the previous high for Bitcoin that we had back in 2017. Ultimately, what we're looking at, if we do fall any lower, you could see that really you're going to go back down to that wick at around 17,600. Will that happen? Well, we could just bounce around again, right? We are being held down by this resistance. As we've pointed out, we have literally hit this linear resistance. So that's confirmed, right here. And you can even argue that it was a little bit of an undershot move, but you could even argue that we tried to touch it right there, right? But ultimately, as if we do look at this, we only have about maybe 3 weeks to a month max before, Bitcoin literally has to make a decision of what it wants to do. But, ultimately, if we switch it to the log, we know that this is the one that most people pay attention to. And, this obviously says we could keep, dragging out until March of next year, right? So that is a possibility. But Before I get to the bullish hopium of the video, I want to start off with the negatives, with the bearish side first. So you can see right here, Sentiment actually showed some data, and they talk about a major Bitcoin drop after negative CPI report. Now, obviously, if you were around yesterday, you know what I'm talking about. That was a crazy day. But they say that after the big drop, crypto traders are showing signs of being a bit numb to sudden drops from inflation-related scares. The amount of interest in buying is notably small now compared to when prices were rising 3 days ago. So it's actually saying that less people are interested in buying. They're getting sick of the CPI, the inflation, the correlation with standard traditional stocks, and because of that, less people are buying, right? So we're not seeing buyers step in. That's bearish, right? That's not a good thing. Let's go over to what Willy Woo says. So he does a lot of on-chain data. He says, in terms of max pain, the market has not felt the same pain as prior bottoms. We can see this in the blue line, which is the supply and profit by Glassnode. We've only reached about 52% of coins being underwater so far. Prior bottoms were 61%, 64%, and 57%, right? Now, the thing to consider, though, is, you could say, well, maybe more people have been buying for longer periods of time. Okay, but ultimately he says that history doesn't need to repeat, especially in the modern era with futures hedging available that is not picked up on chain. But if we do get a repeat with max pain reaching 60% of the supply underwater, that price is currently at $9,100. Right? And slowly drifting upwards with time. So obviously as time goes by, that price will come up, 9,001, 9,002. But ultimately he's saying that that's the level we would need to go right now in order to fully, create that max pain scenario, wash out all the speculators, wash out all the meme coins and moon boys and all that stuff, right? Will we get a $9,100 Bitcoin? I don't know. I don't think so. I think it's highly unlikely, but some people think we have to go that low. He says, this brings me to one of the signals I'm watching before rotating capital back in. Supply and profit trend line break. It broke cleanly in all of the prior bear market bottoms, right? So it does look like, we're trying, we're close, but we did get rejected the same way we got rejected off of the major trend line on the actual price action for linear, right? So that's the bearish. Let me show you something that has happened on the chart, guys. And I know you're sick of these, but we just finally got a cross of the 50 moving below the 100, right? Now, technically, you could say that, this is a death cross or whatever you want to call it, a bearish cross. But if you actually look at all the times that we had it, and I'll throw these on right here so you can see, not only, and once again, guys, I know you're saying past performance doesn't mean, and I'm not saying it has to happen. I'm just providing you with the evidence of the facts of what I'm seeing. But you can see right here, okay, actually, let me move this. It was actually okay, you can't really go in the middle. So ultimately, we had the cross right here, right? Nevertheless, the bottom was in, and it took about it took about the same amount of time since the drop to get back up to the levels where we had lost that previous support, right? So you could see that support was right around here, right around, let's say, $400. And essentially, it took us about the same amount of time that it came down. It took 210 days to fall down to that area, right? And it took us about 240, well, I mean, if you count this wick, but really it took about 238 days to get back to that level. So that level right here, for example, back in 2014 would be the equivalent of around 29, 30,000 today, right? Because that's where we kept having that bottom before we fell through. So that was the first example of that. The second example you can see right here was also during the bear of the 2018 into 2019 bear market. You can see right here we had that cross, and again it was roughly about the same time. So this level right here. Let's say I'm just gonna let's say 6,000. Right, that was about the bottom. Right, you can see we kept consolidating on the bottom right here. So from the time that we fell, right here to the time that we got it was about 105 days. And how long did it take for us to get that recovery back up to those levels again? That one was a little faster than usual. That was only 77 days, which is why some people argue that maybe, this was a failed rally because we didn't build enough structure. I've heard that before, but nevertheless, you could say it's about the same amount of time since the fall, right? So if we have a look right here, and we look at this major drop right here, depends on where you want to take it from, but I'm taking it from this area. I would say, we could call the bottom sort of It's really kind of subjective, but let's go with 31. Let's just say there's a decent amount of support at that level, right? So from the time that we essentially broke that level, it was about 119 days. So if we actually extend this out another 119 days, that takes us to about pretty much the beginning of the year, January 2nd. So basically, the start of the new year suggests that Bitcoin could be back at around $31,000, right? But that's literally January 1st of the next year. Now, I understand that, the Fed is raising rates, and we'll get to that in a minute. But what I do want to also point out is if we have a look at the structure of these cycles, I actually think that what we're seeing right now is more reminiscent of what we saw back here, back here in the 2015 cycle than actually what we saw here. And if you actually look at the structure, this is really crazy. Let me get all these drawing tools off of here right now. We can keep the moving averages. Now let me take them off so you guys can see a little better. So look at this, guys. The market structure is actually kind of insane. So I don't know if you guys can see this, but look, if we look right here, we have one rounded top, we have second rounded top. Now these were a double top, right? So they were exactly the same, but just follow the actual structure, right? So you have this back here, then you have the rounded, right? So that would kind of be like the equivalent of this and this. And then what do? You have this long rounded dump to the downside, right? You have this long rounded dump to the downside. And then what did we do right here? We actually put in pretty much a triple bottom, right? Where we came up, came down, retested it, never went lower, and then, had a little bit of sideways chop, came up again, and came back down, right? Making an actual triple bottom. And if we look at what we're doing right here, look at this. We came down, we came up, we came back down again. Maybe this is that sideways chop. And then we could have, and keep in mind, there was this other fake out down here, which on some charts came even lower than this, right? It was a quick wick fake down that everybody thought it was a major crash, but it wasn't. The candle closed above. So like when I talk about the bottom being in, is it possible that we could have another scenario, where we come down like this, come like this, sideways, come up, and then actually have one more fake out triple bottom that goes lower, actually goes lower than this level right here. And then everyone's like, see, I told you, but then it gets bought back up. And then that's it. That's essentially, where we break this downtrend. Okay. So that's the first thing I wanted to talk about. The second thing I wanted to talk about is not only the fact that, we have the super guppy in the red on the weekly, but what I wanted to mention more specifically is that we officially got right here our minor capitulation hash ribbon buy signal. Okay. So this buy signal has historically always been an indicator, right? That not only has the bottom been in, as you guys can see from all these previous indications, but also that we are looking to start to recover. Now, I just want to point out that when these signals come during, sideways or uptrends, it usually means massive price action to the upside. Now, you might be saying, well, we got this signal, essentially, back here. Where did we actually have the signal? Let me see exactly. It was right here on August 19th, right? So there's that buy. But if we come over here and we have a look at this right here, you'll notice that when we did get that buy signal in 2019, Bitcoin was sitting at 4,000 and Bitcoin ended up falling back down to 3,200. So it wasn't indicative of an immediate price pump, but once again, it was the signal that told us the bottom was in. So there are a lot of things telling us that the bottom should be in. Regardless of whether or not it's in, we know that these are amazing opportunities for accumulation, right? When we get these signals, we know that this is a great time to buy, specifically if we go back to, this right here, right? And we put these back on. So if we put these back on, you could see that historically, these are the areas where you want to buy, right? Even if it does go lower. Now, obviously, we do have the DXY, which had a massive, massive pump on the news, but we also got rejected here off of that legacy trend, right? And we haven't been able to break above that yet. Will the DXY continue to pump? Will the dollar continue to get stronger? I don't know. I know that, over in the UK, they delayed their reports because of, the Queen, RIP, passing away. So they didn't want to, I guess they didn't want to mention any reports, to make matters worse, crash the markets, right? So that's coming out as well. Plus they're raising rates, although that is technically not good for the dollar, right? But here's something to consider. And I want to look at both sides of the equation, right? So if they do continue to raise the rates, right? it's going to make money harder to borrow. And this is actually a chart from personal savings rate that the Moon Overlord put out. He says, this is one of the most bearish charts to me. Personal bank account savings levels down to around 2008 recession levels now. People are not buying stocks. They're not buying crypto. They're not buying NFTs or any other risk asset when they don't even have enough money for rent or food. It's that simple. And you could see right here, super stimmy coming in, stimulus checks, pumping in the money, right? And now we are having the repercussions of what essentially the government and the Fed had done, right? They did this, they created the mess, right? So this is scary to me. And this is the realistic thing. If people don't have the money to invest in stocks and crypto because they're literally just trying to pay for gas, they're literally just trying to pay their rent and eat, right? That's something to consider. And if they are raising the rates, right, which is making it more difficult to borrow money, more expensive to borrow money, and they already don't have money as is, this is a serious issue. And this is something that you can't show in a chart as far as crypto is, right? So we have all these bottom indicators. And historically speaking, this is the time to be buying. There's no doubt about that. But when you have charts like this showing how desperate it is right now for some people, not just in the US, but globally, that's kind of where you have to say, maybe the bottom might not be in simply because we just don't have the extra income right now. Could be, could not be. I just wanted to show you guys everything that's happening right now. Let me know what you think. I would like to talk to you guys. Drop a comment below. Slap a like on this video if you enjoy more of a macro overlook where we talk about these things. I know there's not a lot of people left in crypto, but whoever's watching this video right now, I love you. You're awesome. Thank you so much. You're the reason that I'm going to do this through this whole bear market like I did the last two. And then, it's going to be a bull market again. Everybody's going to go, oh, you got so lucky. No, we didn't get lucky. We didn't get lucky. We stuck it out. We stuck it out, right? Because things that are worth it in life are difficult. If they're easy, they're usually not really worth it, or they're not impressive, or they usually don't matter much, right? So let's dive in and have a look at some other stuff. But actually, I want to say one thing before I do. The reason that I do believe it will eventually end is because eventually, guys, eventually, they will not be able to continue doing this. Now, you may have heard the, the analogy of like a drug addict, right? Like it's basically like they were pumping money into the system. They were giving them drugs and then they stopped. They took the drugs away, right? Just cold turkey, right? Well, what happens when some of these guys that do hardcore, drugs out there, stop doing drugs? They die, some of them, especially don't want to say the names of them, but you know what I mean? Like, that's pretty crazy, right? But another analogy that's not so aggressive is like, imagine you want to punish your child, right? You want to, your child did something wrong. Now, I don't know, nowadays, you can't spank your kids. I don't know. I don't have kids, so I don't even, whatever. But, when I was a kid, spankings were a thing, right? You did something wrong, you got hit, right? Or something, right? So, you spank your kid, right? You teach him a lesson, right? Okay. All right, that's what the Fed, is doing essentially to themselves. But you don't punch your kid in the face and kick him while he's down, right? Because now you're gonna kill the kid. You don't want to do that, right? So they don't want to kill the economy, right? They just want to correct it, right? Ultimately, so we'll see how it goes. That probably wasn't that great of an analogy. But anyway, guys, something more serious that we do need to be concerned about, because this could affect us all, is we do have the Ethereum merge that is set to happen September 15th, which is tomorrow at 5 a.m., which Eastern time is like 1 a.m., roughly. Yeah, so unless you guys are planning on staying up overnight, you're probably not going to be awake while it's happening, unless maybe you're in California. But I'm going to be, I will be sound asleep at 1 a.m., just letting you guys know. Now, the merge has been described as swapping a car engine while it's still in motion, right? So this is one of the biggest things really to happen to crypto. And Ethereum has a lot of eyes on it right now. And it is important that this goes smoothly, or at least as smooth as possible. And I'm not even just talking about the price action that could happen, buy the rumor, sell the news. I'm talking about if something catastrophic did happen, something broke, a line of code was wrong, there was an exploit, right? Something bad, something like what happened with Terra Luna, right? That could be a big issue. So I would be very, very careful, as to what could potentially happen. But, nevertheless, guys, it's definitely something we need to pay attention to. So that is happening. And, right here, you can see that ETH is consolidating a little bit, still against its Bitcoin comparative. You could try to trade this. You can trade it, on a centralized exchange if you guys want. So the thing is if you want your Ethereum, you can trade it with dollars. You can put it in a wallet, ledger. But ultimately, it's kind of one of those moments where I think the best thing to do is just sit back and just see what happens. Okay. So that's my 2 cents. You do what you want. If you want to trade it, you can. If you guys are looking to trade, I would recommend BitGet. They have like literally the best trading experience that I've had in a very, very long time. And if you guys want that bonus, $8,000 alone on just BitGet. If you guys want, check out that tutorial and the bonus above. And there's even 16,000 below for other, things if you want to check that out as well. So let's talk about some news and then let's get on out of here. So you can now bring your NFTs into Grand Theft Auto and Minecraft servers. Awesome. Also, the court has issued an arrest warrant against Terra's Do Kwon as Luna nosedives 40% in 2 hours. Terra's co-founder is facing allegations of fraudulent activities after the devastating $45 billion crash of the Terraform Labs ecosystem that started a series of unfortunate events devastating the entire crypto sector. So that's about the only 2 bits of news I have for you today. All eyes on Ethereum. But ultimately, guys, we are still holding, this Legacy 89 on the Bitcoin monthly EMA ribbon. So, as long as we hold above this, and we have that buy signal and we still have all these bottoming signals, I'm going to take the technical stance that the bottom could potentially be in, or at least minimally, this is an opportunistic time to buy. Could we go lower? It's a first. We've never seen Bitcoin exist in this type of monetary policy, right? So your guess is as good as mine. You can take the side of the doom and gloomers and say Bitcoin's going to 9,000, 3,000. You could do that. It's possible. Could happen. Anything can happen in this world, right? Literally anything. Or you can look at history and statistics and data, which is held up for 13 years. Pick your side, guys. Either way, I will be here making videos every single day for you guys. Bull market, bear market, crab market, doesn't matter to me. I love Bitcoin. You know how I feel about this. And I do believe that long term, these are the opportunities that people wait for. And now the opportunity is here. And you're seeing reports from Sentiment that people are scared to buy. So you can't make this stuff up, guys. Greed, fear, market sentiment, emotion never changes. So thank you so much for coming back to the channel. You guys rock. The reason that I make these videos. I love you. I hope you're having an awesome day. Be safe out there. We'll see what happens with the Ethereum merge. And of course, guys, if you have not seen this video right here, take your finger, click on it, check it out. Until next time, stay crypto. And of course, peace out.